We greet you at the outset of a Thursday, October 24th edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. I gotta confess, I'm a little conflicted today because I strive every day to bring you the latest news and analyze it through a prism of truth. I got a lot of stories around me. I've done my typical 2 hours plus of show prep. I'm just not sure there's a whole lot of news. I mean, there's new stuff. But new stuff doesn't mean that it's news, because if it happens all the time, like airplanes landing at the airport, that's not news. A plane lands. When a plane crashes, that's news because it's atypical. So here are my options today. You tell me if there's any news here. We have a jury seated in the trial of former Columbus police officer Adam Coy. That might leap out at you as news, but in Columbus, really? Like, prosecuting a police officer, not really news, not because our police are corrupt, but because our police department leadership and our mayoral leadership is corrupt, because they never side with police on any shoot. Now, I don't know if the shooting of Andre Hill is justified or not, but I sure know the shooting of Casey Goodson and two others that have been in the news a lot are justified. So Andre Hill now, his family has a $10 million settlement from the city, which I'm a little concerned that prejudices the jury in this case. But I don't know. Is that news or not? They're prosecuting a police officer in Columbus. I vote no on that. Also, here's the second candidate to lead the show today. Two teens are expected to be charged with felony fleeing after crashing definitely one and maybe two stolen cars last night. Wow, teenagers crashing stolen cars. I mean, that's terrible. But is it news? Is it even really new? We get 10,000 car thefts a year in Columbus, most of them juveniles, most of them Kias and Hyundais. Last night it was a Kia Forte. And there is a twist in this story. A Ford Focus from out of state. They're still checking to see if the Ford Focus from out of state is stolen. If it is, I have bad news for the owners. It was T-boned by a Dodge Charger at the end of a chase that ended with the Kia parked in a school parking lot after it had fled police who did not chase it, because, we can't chase criminals in this town because they might crash and hurt themselves, which really wouldn't bother me, but they do endanger other people, innocent people who are law-abiding people on the streets. That would bother me. And we're lucky that didn't happen last night, because while the Kia and the Ford were racing through town with a police helicopter following them from above, but officers not following them on the ground, the reports are from Channel 10, the Dispatch, and other entities in the town that the two 17-year-olds were driving left of center, running red lights, and imperiling oncoming traffic. So there's my second option. All right, so you're saying, no, prosecuting a police officer, not really news. Teenagers stealing and crashing cars, not really news. What else do you have, Bruce? Well, I have Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris last night hosting a town hall on CNN where she was answering questions from the audience. Now, did she make any news last night? Did she announce anything new, anything consequential to her presidential campaign that will, 2 weeks from today, will have, I was going to say, a pretty good window into whether or not she's the next president of the United States, but I'm not really sure if I'm sitting here 2 weeks from today that at 11, 10 or 12 in the morning, we'll know who the president of the United States is. Because, Pennsylvania yesterday, you heard the Secretary of State say, be patient with us. Be patient with us. We're going to take a long time to count the ballots. Michigan, be patient with us. We'll know in Ohio. We'll know whether Bernie Moreno is our next senator, please, Lord. We'll know who our Supreme Court justices are. We'll know whether issue 1 failed. It should fail. Vote no on issue 1. We'll know whether it failed or passed. We'll know all that because we have a competent Secretary of State in Frank LaRose. We might not know nationally who our president is, because if the race is as tight as everybody says it is, then it'll come down to Michigan, Pennsylvania, and they'll be checking. the results and seeing if there are any ballots that they haven't counted that they might need to count, wink, wink. But back to Kamala Harris last night on CNN in a town hall where the first person who stood up to talk with her was a political science professor who posed a pretty basic, simple question, right? Like if you're running for president, you would seemingly have a pretty good idea of the first thing you would do when you get in office, or a bigger picture view of, if I could only do one thing, if I'm able to have the confidence of the American people expressed in me, in my candidacy, and I get in office, and it's going to be tough because the Senate, the House, don't know how they're going to break, but it's going to be tough. Not going to have overwhelming majorities in either one, probably not going to both be under Democratic control. What's the one thing I would like to get done? That is what the political science professor asked Kamala Harris. And here is the question and you thought I was going to say answer, didn't you? No, here's the question and the response.
My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics, slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress in our country. And that means working across the aisle. I've done that before. We did it around whether it be what we were able to accomplish with the bipartisan infrastructure deal, or some of the work that we have done in terms of dealing with gun safety. But we've got to work across the aisle. And it is my commitment to work with Democrats, with Republicans, with independents, to deal with a number of issues, whether it be what we need to do in terms of housing and creating legislation that creates incentives for that, what we need to do to reinstate the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do, whether it be what we need to do to actually invest in a substantial way in the industries of the future, in American-based manufacturing, in American-based industries where American workers and union workers have those jobs in a way that is good-paying jobs that they deserve. All of those areas I plan on working across the aisle and with Congress, including the issue of immigration, which we've got to fix.
Did we get an answer there? It was almost as if, as I listened to her answer, that I heard the strains of dueling banjos in the background. Now, Dueling Banjos is a classic song, and Dueling Banjos comes from a movie, an old movie, a very, very, very old movie, called Deliverance. And when Kamala Harris speaks, I hear music, assorted, famous strains of music. Deliverance would be a perfect soundtrack for Kamala Harris's answers, because when she talks, I want to be delivered from her, as David Axelrod referred to it last night, word salad city. Word salad city. Barack Obama's top lieutenant called Kamala Harris's responses, not just this inane response to the first question of the night, but her answers on other topics, to be word salad city. David Axelrod said that while he was on the panel on CNN dissecting her words afterward with, among others, Dana Bash, who reflected on that first question and on that first response from Kamala Harris.
Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I've been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, you know, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe, but that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more, but what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one, there wasn't one. some more of her personality and her sort of character questions about your weaknesses or what mistakes did you make? Not necessarily the answers there.
Not necessarily the answers there. No, not just not necessarily. There were no answers there, right? Like, this is not just a question that comes up during a job interview for president, which every town hall is, which every debate is, which every interview is, sit-down interview with even bootlicks like Stephanie Rule or Howard Stern or Stephen Colbert. Everybody who's ever interviewed for a job anywhere, right? Don't they ask you, what's one of your greatest weaknesses? And we all got an answer for it. She doesn't. We'll prove it next.
Sunshine, a little bit cooler this afternoon, high 64. Partly cloudy tonight, low 41. Clouds and sun, shower tomorrow, and the high at 70. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy, low 47. Clouds and sun on Saturday, the high 62. Sunshine for Sunday, the high at 60. And then mostly sunny, very nice day on Monday. High Monday afternoon at 69. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
I'm CPA Brad Hennebert with Premier Tax CPAs, and the true value of using a CPA is getting guidance throughout the year, not just at tax time. During the year, we can actively advise you on your financial and tax planning and other major business decisions, just like an outside CFO. Too often, when you see your accountant only at tax time, we're really only keeping score of what you did last year. We'll prepare a comprehensive tax plan to maximize your deductions and minimize the tax you pay, and present you with money-saving options you may not have ever considered. We'll update your financial position each quarter, so there are no nasty surprises at tax time. At Premier Tax CPAs, we like to have consultations with our clients throughout the year because important financial information is only useful if it's timely. At Premier Tax CPAs, we're a firm that can work with you and your business throughout the year to help you make decisions before it's too late. Give us a
An orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talked about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. You talked about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took a number, hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally,
Got that one.
There's actually just one company that prevents this type of crime from happening: Equity Protect. Equity Protect scans, monitors, alerts, and most importantly, protects you from any attempts to tamper with or steal your home equity and ownership 24 hours a day. Other companies merely monitor. Equity Protect stops the crime from happening. Find out if you're already a victim or take a free risk assessment today at equityprotect.com. That's equityprotect.com.
If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484.
It's really simple. You log on to 989theanswer.com, search for the item you need, buy the certificate, and boom, you just saved at least half the price when you shop the Answers Discount Shopping Club. From mattresses and HVAC systems to half-price school tuitions, the Discount Shopping Club is an easy way for you to save half off or more on the things you could really use. Items come and go, and they're usually in limited supply, so start saving hundreds, even thousands of dollars today in the Discount Shopping Club at 989theanswer.com.
I'm headed to Delaware today after the show. 2 carpet appointments. Can't wait. Or flooring appointments. Not both carpet, but headed to Delaware. Looking forward to that. Had a nice conversation yesterday with Mark and with Paul and with Linda, and we are looking forward to pursuing. You're not committed to anything. You go to Bruce Hooley Flooring by going to brucehooley.com and clicking flooring. You're not committed to anything. All you're committed to is meeting me, which, I consider it an honor to have the opportunity to serve you. So if you're looking for flooring, if you're looking for carpet, if you're looking for, don't be fooled by the name, luxury vinyl plank. All it is vinyl flooring that looks like wood or looks like tile. It's great in terms of laundry rooms, bathrooms, any room that's going to get a lot of traffic and you want it to be indestructible and not scratch and be waterproof, not just water resistant. We've got all the major name brands. We have our own installers. We can install it fast, effective, within a month, and you'll save money. BruceHooley.com, flooring, upper right-hand corner. So Kamala Harris last night, CNN, we're less than 2 weeks from the election, and she's still trying to define herself, and she's still awful at it and awful at answering questions. And one of the questions that you have to be prepared for in any job interview is, what's your weakness? What would you say your weakness is? And people always go, my weakness is I work so hard. I take my job so seriously. Right? There's no answer. I care too much. It's one of those nonsense interview questions that comes up. You got to find a way to sort of, kick save and a beauty aside and then move on with the actual questions that pertain to how you will do your job. Everybody has a weakness, but it's hard to disclose it without putting yourself in a hole. Well, if you're a presidential candidate, it's kind of important that you be able to say, my weakness is that I lie. No, she can't say that. Okay. So my weakness is I'm a super uber left of left liberal, and I'm trying to hide it, and I'm not very good at it. Like, nope, that'd be honest, but it wouldn't be a good answer for Kamala Harris. So here's the question about her weakness, and I got to admit, I've never heard it answered this way before.
Everybody, as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes. We have our weaknesses. And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives.
Now, I have to admit, initially I thought that was a terrible answer, but I now realize that it was actually an honest answer. Did you hear? She said her weakness is she surrounds herself with too many smart people. She surrounds herself with too many smart people. Now, initially I thought, what do you mean, like Sam Brinson, the guy with the puppy fetish who steals women's luggage and dresses like a woman? Or you mean Rachel Levine, the mentally ill, highest ranking female Navy officer who's a dude? Or do you mean the monkeypox guy who we see in his leather outfits and his bondage gear? Those are the smart. I can't identify the smart people, but you have to admit, as dumb as she is, everybody around her would be smarter. Everybody. Now, it's not far from what's your weakness to what kind of mistakes have you made in the past and what have you learned from those mistakes? And that's where Anderson Cooper went later on in the town hall.
Is there something you could point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
So what mistakes have you made? Well, parenting. Everybody makes mistakes in parenting. She began parenting her stepchildren when they were 15 and 20. The parenting job pretty much done. But hay's in the barn on the parenting by 15 and 20. So ixnay on the parenting pay, okay? Not an answer. She says, the mistake that I've made is a mistake that I haven't made, but it would be a mistake to make it, which is not to read the material that people prepare for me. Now, what do we know about Kamala Harris and why she has like 90% turnover on her staff? Because they prepare briefings for her and she doesn't read them. And then she looks like a buffoon when Lester Holt says, you haven't been to the border. Well, I haven't been to Europe either, and I don't understand your point. She looks like a moron because she is a moron. And it's hard not to look like one when you don't do anything to bulletproof yourself from your moronic incapability to function in the role of vice president. So she can't come up with any weaknesses. She can't come up with any mistakes she's made and what she'll learn from, even though there's how big of a vista of possible mistakes she could have picked from. Well, you know, looking back, Anderson, we should have never left Bagram Air Force Base and tried to orchestrate the Afghanistan withdrawal from Hamid Karzai Airport. That would be, heaven forbid they hear me, a really decent answer to give on the Afghanistan withdrawal. You're not throwing Biden under the bus for withdrawing from Afghanistan and getting 13 American service personnel blown to bits by a suicide bomber. You're just saying, in hindsight, we should have done it like 50 miles outside of town because we could have had a better security situation. That would be a great answer. Or, in hindsight, Anderson, given the gas prices went through the roof, maybe we shouldn't have ixnayed the Keystone XL pipeline. Or maybe I shouldn't have broken the tie on the Inflation Reduction Act after we spent too much money on the Build Back Better plan. Or maybe we should have enacted an executive order sooner. We'll get back to the border in a moment. But here is David Axelrod talking about Kamala Harris's answers last night.
Things that would concern me is when she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question: would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer. 7 minutes. None of it related to the question he was asking. And so, you know, on certain questions like that, on immigration, I thought she missed an opportunity because she would acknowledge no concerns about any of the administration's policies. And that's a mistake. Sometimes you have to concede things, and she didn't concede much. But I'll tell you something. John King mentioned Bill Clinton. No one's going to be Bill Clinton, but you do want to relate to the people in front of you. She didn't do a lot of that. She didn't ask them questions. She didn't address them particularly. So she was giving set.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. On the campaign trail, former President Trump told a rally of supporters in Georgia last night to vote for him either with an early ballot or in person on Election Day. After criticizing mail-in voting 4 years ago, he's starting to embrace it. Vice President Harris stepping up her warnings about Trump's mental fitness and his intentions for the presidency. During a CNN town hall in Pennsylvania, Harris said that she believes Trump is a fascist. A deadly E. coli outbreak has forced McDonald's to remove quarter-pounder hamburgers off the menu at 20% of its U.S. restaurants. The CDC is investigating the outbreak, which has left one person dead and several in the hospital. Palestinian medical officials say an Israeli strike on a school in central Gaza today killed at least 17 people. This is SRN News. Socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word prepare to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text prepare to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2020. Talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. Talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings.
Oh,
your administration
didn't happen at Purdue.
A number.
Should have and could have.
It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024. Just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration?
At 10 and 2 to Retire Ready, Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday at 10 and 2, Retire Ready, Ohio, with Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group. The firm offers insurance services, investment advisory services are offered through Peters Wealth Group, a state-registered investment advisor.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer. Anywhere you go with The Answer's mobile app at 98.9theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers. Tune in or iHeart.
QC Kinetics, they can get you out of pain. QC Kinetics is fantastic in terms of its scientific approach to helping you get rid of what ails you, maybe in your elbow, maybe in your back, maybe it's a wrist. There are a million joints in the human body, right? I mean, come on. If they hurt, you know it, and it limits you from what you'd like to do. Maybe it's exercising, maybe it's leisure, maybe it's just like living life pain-free. Advanced regenerative therapy. What does that mean, Bruce? Well, it means that your body sometimes needs help to fight off things like arthritis pain. Your blood contains healing agents. Those agents are called platelets, and QC Kinetics, clinics in Gahanna and Dublin, where they offer you a free consultation, can take your blood out, separate the platelets, re-inject them in the affected area, and you can get relief. They can evaluate you for treatment. The free consultation available by calling and setting up your appointment, 380-208-4544, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. So one of the best legislators that we have in the state of Ohio is Gary Click. Gary is responsible, along in tandem with Jenna Powell and really every other Republican legislator in the Ohio House and in the Senate, for the fact that we have protections in our law here in the state of Ohio for women and girls being invaded by men and women trying to play sports that are, according to Title IX, reserved exclusively for women, and also to keep those men, those predatory men, those fake men who hide under the label, I'm a transgender woman. No, transgender means fake. You're a fake woman. We have Gary Click, Jenna Powell, and every other Republican legislator in the House and Senate to thank for overriding our squishy Governor Mike DeWine's veto. Very soon, I hope, we will have protections in bathrooms for women, that no biological male will be able to go in bathrooms. And you can thank Beth Lear, Senator Beth Lear, for leading the charge on that. Beth up for re-election. And certainly you're making a huge mistake if you are represented by Beth Lear, and many of you in Delaware County are, and Franklin County too. You better vote for Beth Lear if you want a legislator to stand for truth. Now, Gary Click is back. He has proposed new legislation in the Ohio House that would make it a crime for someone illegally in the United States to enter or attempt to enter the state of Ohio. Hoorah. He says, Ohioans are charitable, gracious, kind, and welcoming. However, we expect those who would join us to reciprocate by following our laws, including immigration laws. The America First Act only addresses immigration already determined to be unlawful on the federal level. This is an ingenious and necessary piece of legislation because illegals take jobs away from legal citizens in the United States. None of us are against legal immigration. I'm voting, and you better be too, for someone who legally immigrated to the United States. Hopefully future Senator Bernie Moreno waited in line, became a citizen at age 18. That's how you do it. If passed into law, Gary Click's America First Act would carry a penalty of a $500 fine and a year in jail for illegals who are in the United States who then come into the state of Ohio. They would also, after they pay their fine and get out of jail, would have to leave the state within 72 hours of being released. Love it. Love it. I don't think Kamala would love it. Although she talked expansively last night in her CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper about immigration. I'm sure you're hanging on every word. If you are, you'll be good and dead by the time this clip finishes.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
No, let's talk about immigration.
Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on it? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build a wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Am I the only one? Here's the music in the background. The circus is in town. Kamala is dodging and ducking questions. Here's the end of that exchange. One more time. Without Barnum and Bailey intruding.
I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Not an answer. Not an answer. You do want to build some wall. You're for, you said, the bipartisan bill, which didn't have enough Democratic votes to pass, which would build the wall. She doesn't want to say she's in favor of the wall because she knows she will lose voting support from the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, and that sort of Democrat, which is a growing, dominant part of their party. Republicans are so much more united. There are Democrats who they want every single possible demonic, demented, transgender provision ensconced in law. They want to murder every child they can get their forceps on in the womb. And then there are some Democrats who are like, 15 weeks seems pretty reasonable to me. That's even more liberal of a policy than they have in Europe. They're not united on anything. The wall, there's some Democrats who like, I'm not going to vote for it. They're not united on Israel. They're not united. And so she knows that, and she's trying to thread the needle, and instead she just sounds super evasive and frustrates people like Harold Ford, who tries to like walk a sensible line as a Democrat on Fox News.
I was disappointed. What I can't understand is at a moment in which you're supposed to be laser focused, serious, with 12 days left in a campaign, and you get asked a question from an audience member that says, what's the first thing you would want to do? What's the first piece of legislation you'd want to pass? If you can't come right away, but we want to pass a border security bill, we want a new tax bill that empowers first-time homeowners and small business owners, and we want to review and overhaul regulatory processes to make sure we're not limiting or inhibiting growth in America. It begs the question in some ways, what is your campaign doing with you? What are you guys talking about? What are you taking a day off to prepare for if you can't say those things? And then say the fourth thing, we'd restore Roe v. Wade. The centerpieces of your campaign, even if you don't believe they're popular with independents or swing voters, if you're not saying those things, it's mind-boggling. And it's confounding in some ways. The notion that you can just talk about character in Donald Trump, if that alone were the issue, we'd be running ahead 10 points. Just like with Donald Trump, when he says that she's stupid and she can't do this, that's not working either. At the end of a campaign, your messages should be crystallized. You should be articulating and repeating and pointing out those differences over and over again. They've got 11 or 12 days, and if they don't get to it, they could find themselves in the losing end of a campaign.
Well, let's hope so, Harold. Let's hope so. Because it won't get a lick better. Not a lick better if she becomes president of the United States. Of course, not all Democrats saw it that way. Somebody's got to prop up the hobby horse when its leg breaks. That means it's your turn, Van Jones and Alyssa Farah Griffin.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam.
Yeah.
I think it bothers people. They're not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair tonight. That's what's unfair tonight. They're not taking the same exam. Look, she has policies. She may not articulate them perfectly every time. She may not put the stories in the right places, but she's fighting for actual ideas that will help real people. And he's talking about people's penises. And so they're not taking the same exam, and that's pissing people off. Pissing me off.
Well, and I'm also old enough to remember that if your fiscal plans were actually said to bankrupt the Social Security Trust Fund in sooner years, Donald Trump's, that would be a campaign-destroying issue. But we just gloss over things with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when you let 10 million illegals into the country and they're murdering American women and college students. And when you're suing the state of Texas for enforcing its own border, and when you're suing states that purge their voter rolls of dead people and non-citizens, I'm old enough to remember when that was disqualifying too.
Sunshine, a little bit cooler this afternoon, high 64, partly cloudy tonight, low 41. Clouds and sun, shower tomorrow, and the high at 70. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy, low 47. Clouds and sun on Saturday, the high 62. Sunshine for Sunday, the high at 60. And a mostly sunny, very nice day on Monday. High Monday afternoon at 69. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
The Caribbean is calling. Dennis Prager here, and I invite you to join me on a Caribbean cruise this November. Imagine 9 days of basking in the sun surrounded by the stunning beauty of a tropical paradise. We'll cruise the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Aruba, and more. Stroll through Curaçao's iconic pastel-colored shops and snorkel in Bonaire's world-class coral reefs. You'll enjoy some of the most delicious cuisine aboard Holland America's Rotterdam, a fantastic destination itself this show, with riveting shows and breathtaking views. We'll be joined by a special guest, Sean McDowell, and we'll both share fresh insights. We'll have dialogue on religion, current events, happiness, and our future in America in light of the election. November 29 to December 8th. Secure your spot today by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at PragerCruise.com.
War has played a key role in the history of the United States, from the nation's founding right down to the present. Wars made the United States independent, kept it together, increased its size, and established it as a global superpower. Hi, I'm James Early, host of the Key Battles of American History podcast. In each episode, I discuss American history through the lens of the most important battles of America's wars. To start listening now, go to ParthenonPodcast.com or search Key Battles of American History on your favorite podcast account.
The wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. Stop overpaying for data you'll never use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus a mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Just grab your phone, dial pound 250, and when prompted, say the keyword Mike Gallagher. Pure Talk's USA-based customer service team will make switching so easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Dial pound 250, and when prompted, just say the keyword Mike Gallagher, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
If you're a business owner and a listener to this station, you might not realize that the conservative news and talk content that you enjoy is advertiser supported. Our loyal audience loves to do business with the advertisers who make our programming possible. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some advertisers who avoid us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our listeners are eager to support advertisers who support our conservative programming. Join the successful companies who reach customers who care about this programming. Become a part of making a difference in the lives of people who listen and who are passionate about supporting the great family of advertisers who are part of this station. It's truly a perfect match for you and for them.
To learn how to reach our audience with your business's message and support this station, contact Carolyn Cassidy at 614-318-0401 or click on the Advertise With Us banner at 989theanswer.com. That's 989theanswer.com.
PatriotSwitch.com products are great for your family, and I'm looking for people who are looking for a solution to maybe a problem I hear a lot about when I chat with people interested in Patriot Switch. They're looking for American-made products. Okay, check that box. They're all American-made. You're looking for products that are healthy. Okay, check that box, because everything is made from plants or plant extracts. You're looking for something that, maybe is not putting dollars in the pockets of those people who are actively working against you and against the foundations of America. You can check that box, because Patriot Switch is a family-owned company. It's not Unilever. It's not Procter & Gamble. It's not one of those big conglomerates. It's giving money it gets from you to causes you don't support, like Planned Parenthood, the LGBTQ agenda, the Black Lives Matter agenda, and all that. So if it intrigues you and you want an online store, which will avoid trips to big box stores, products shipped directly to you at a savings, and all the other reasons that I articulated, then go to patriotswitch.com/Bruce. That's patriotswitch.com/Bruce. I encouraged you the other night at the Battleground Talkers Tour to get out and vote early. I had a friend who said, I'm voting for Trump, but man, I wish they'd stop texting my phone, asking me, this, that, and the other. Well, if you vote early, then they find out you voted early. They track it every single day, and then you don't get those texts anymore. So I'll tell you, I don't trust it, Bruce. How do I know that I'm going to throw my ballot away? Okay, so here's the skinny on that. On the Ohio government website, which I believe is ohio.gov, you can track your absentee ballot with 3 steps. Just know your county, find it on the map, enter your first and last name. You might have to enter your date of birth, depending on what county you are, maybe your zip code. Click submit, and you'll find your ballot. You'll make sure that they have it and that they have counted it, or they will count it. It's registered, okay? Great for your college student away at school. Get them to vote. Come on. You can make a trip to FedEx or wherever. If they've mailed the ballot to your home, get it to your son or daughter and get them to vote. And make sure you send them the cash to send it express mail so it arrives on time. Now, Kamala Harris' town hall last night on CNN she's just bad at this, okay? There's no way in the world we can be lucky enough that she will actually do what Donald Trump is going to do tomorrow. And I wish he wasn't doing it. Donald Trump needs to stay out of the headlines, okay? Going on Joe Rogan is not a recipe for staying out of the headlines. Trump's a showman. Trump's an egomaniac. And Trump wants that audience. He's got that audience. He's got the young male audience. He doesn't need to go on Rogan, but he's going, and I'm fearful he's going to say something stupid, get a little too comfortable, and hurt himself. Kamala Harris thought about going on Rogan, and then they realized, like, come on. She blew it on NBC with Hallie Jackson. She blew it on Colbert. She blew it on Howard Stern. She blew it on The View, and she blew it again last night on CNN. We're going to put her in front of Joe Rogan for 3 hours? No. Or 2 hours? Not happening. She can't answer questions that everybody knows she's going to get, and she's gotten before. Here was the question last night about grocery prices. Listen to the empty answer.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden.
Her! She's the only one who blames Trump.
What would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging.
Around and around and around we go on the Kamala Harris merry-go-round. We're going to address it in a number of ways. I'm not going to tell you any of those ways. None of those ways am I going to disclose. So Anderson Cooper, thankfully, followed up.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery price has just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities.
So in that answer, she does two things. She admits that this is not really a problem in the United States. Here's where she did that.
Deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't.
Okay, so she's talking about, because Cooper presses her, he goes, you know, your plan for price gouging is during times of crisis, meaning hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that. Weather blows through, something happens, maybe an earthquake in California, something like that, and an area is devastated and you lose everything, and people come to help, and maybe they come and bring, let's say, generators, okay? You need power. All your food is going to be spoiled, and you would be willing to pay more for a generator than you would have paid a day before the hurricane or the tornado or the earthquake blew through if you happen to be that day going to a home supply store to buy a generator. You would be willing to pay that. Some person is willing to leave where they are, go get a supply of generators, drive them into your area to help you, and they want to be reimbursed for their time, for their travel, and yeah, they'd like to make a little bit of a profit off of it. Okay? Maybe a lot of a bit of profit off of it. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to. You make a value judgment. Is it worth my time? Is it not worth my time? Okay, so it's not a widespread problem. So she's going to fix grocery prices, egg prices, milk prices in Columbus, Ohio by prosecuting price gouging when a hurricane devastates Western North Carolina. Right? Do we have I know Western North Carolina, big, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, lots of damaged areas from Hurricane Helene. She's going to go in. She's going to outlaw price gouging. Is that going to lower your prices at Kroger? Is that going to lower your prices at Giant Eagle? No, of course not. Of course not. It's not. So she's come up with this vapid, empty, Wizard of Oz policy, nothing behind the curtain. She doesn't understand supply and demand. She applies a specific, targeted, limited situation, storm damage in a certain area, to all of the United States. Oh, all the retailers, somebody in Duluth, Minnesota, they're charging $4 a dozen for eggs. Manager comes into the store. Hey, we better cut that out. Kamala's in Western North Carolina. She's prosecuting people for having generators and selling them for $500 over retail value. You better cut the price of eggs back to $2. Stupid. This is why David Urban, Republican strategist, had this to say after her hour-long appearance on CNN.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris. We'd just press play, let her keep going. We'd pay for another hour to let her keep not answering the questions. I think Anderson's asking her, well, why haven't you done it? You've been there for 4 years. Why have you done any of this? And the word salad answer she gave to that was just mind-boggling. I mean, it's blown up the internet, her answer to that question. I think the things that are troubling for people were her responses to, Van said about what you're going to do to reduce costs when they asked her at the beginning. We're hurting economically. She said, I'm going to prosecute corporations, right? That's not going to lower costs. How are you going to make things better for me? I'm going to prosecute people. Trump bad is not a message that's going to get her elected.
Yeah, that is their message, right? That is their message yesterday when she came out after the bogus Atlantic story on Donald Trump disparaging the Hispanic soldier whose family has pushed back on what a hit job that was. Trump is orange. Trump is mean. Trump is bad. Vote for me.
Owning a home is a dream come true, but keeping it comfortable? Temperature Pro understands that your HVAC system is the heart of your home's comfort. When it needs attention, you deserve service that's fast, transparent, and reliable. More than just a repair company, they're your home's partner, offering professional service that respects your space and your family. For
great hour.
Or an unexpected
At least it was great for me because I can't stand Kamala Harris. I think she's the stupidest person ever to run for president in the United States, and that's saying something since she ran after Joe Biden. Deep breath time. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Vote no on issue 1. Vote for Bernie Moreno. Vote for Republican Ohio Supreme Court justices. Pray for our country. I buried the lead. Pray for our country because we need it. We need it bad. All right. With that, have a safe day. See you Friday.